One of the more interesting findings of the Transatlantic Trends 2009 survey was the divide we found in Europe between opinion in Western Europe and opinion in Central and Eastern Europe. In previous surveys, we had not found this kind of division in public opinion. And while we only have 1 year of data here, and we wouldn't want to draw too strong of a conclusion from that data, it does seem to us that this bears watching in the 2010 survey because on a number of issues, attitudes towards the United States, attitudes towards the American leadership, attitudes towards the economy and climate, there is a division in Europe that has emerged. There are two Europes emerging here in terms of public opinion, and that may impact the ability of the U.S. and Europe to work together on these issues. As you can see, support for President Bush in 2008 in his handling of international affairs was quite low in both parts of Europe, but in fact, people in Central and Eastern Europe were twice as likely to be supportive of President Bush's handling of foreign policy than were people in Western Europe. In 2009, again, Europeans overwhelmingly in both parts of the continent are supportive of President Obama, but now it is Western Europeans who are far more supportive than people in Central and Eastern Europe. We ask people in our survey, did they have confidence in President Obama's handling of a range of foreign policy challenges? In all cases, a majority of people throughout Europe supported President Obama's handling of these challenges. But people in Western Europe were much more confident in Obama's ability to handle Afghanistan, the Middle East, Iran, and Russia, which suggested that the Obama effect is just much stronger in Western Europe, and the Obama administration has yet to close the deal in Central and Eastern Europe. Because one of the challenges facing Europe and the United States is the behavior of Russia. We ask a series of questions in our survey about Russian practices and behavior. A number of these had to do with the Russian energy policy and the handling of the supplying of energy to Western Europe. And one of the questions we asked our respondents was, would they be willing to abandon policies Russia opposes, such as NATO enlargement, to secure Russian energy supplies? Interestingly enough, about 2 in 5 Western Europeans would be willing to entertain abandoning NATO enlargement to secure Russian energy supplies. Far fewer people in Central and Eastern Europe would be willing to make that trade-off, and in fact, opinion in Central and Eastern Europe on this kind of behavior was closer to that in the United States than it was to attitudes in Western Europe. We asked people in Europe a series of questions in response to the economic crisis. We asked them if, in fact, they thought people were better off in a free market economy. People in Western Europe are much more supportive of a free market economy than are people in Central and Eastern Europe. We ask people if in these tough times consumers should buy national products, not buy imported products. Here, people in Central and Eastern Europe were much more supportive than people in Western Europe in buying Polish products or buying Romanian products as opposed to imported products. And we asked people, should you keep markets open in these tough times despite the competition from abroad? People in both parts of Europe are very supportive of keeping markets open, but in fact, people in Western Europe are more supportive than people in Central and Eastern Europe. Since climate change is a growing concern on both sides of the Atlantic, we tested people's concern about this issue. Overwhelmingly, people in both parts of Europe are concerned about climate change, although again, there's a higher degree of concern in Western Europe. We ask people if their country should do all it can do to fight climate change, even if others do less. In other words, how much altruism is there in public opinion? In fact, Europeans were far more altruistic in the West than they were in Central and Eastern Europe. And finally, with the tough decisions coming up on climate change, we ask people, would you be willing to forego economic growth in the fight to slow the warming of the planet? About 3/4 of Western Europeans would be willing to make that trade-off. Barely half of Central and Eastern Europeans would be willing to make that trade-off.